back from the Thanksgiving holiday and ready to roll. This is episode number 36 of the Shutdown Inning podcast. I am Steven Rissotto, along with, as always, is my co-host Tylor Hall. Tylor, what's going on? Happy Thanksgiving.
Hey, everybody. Yeah, happy holidays, everybody. We're a few days past Thanksgiving now. Hope everyone enjoyed and is out of the food coma now.
Yes. Did you have do you usually have a lot of food at your Thanksgiving holiday, or is it kind of like one of everything? Is there a lot of one thing, a lot of turkey? Because I know we usually have a lot of turkey. That's kind of what I dig into. Sometimes it's dry, sometimes it's not. But what's like the Hall Thanksgiving looking like?
I mean, a little bit of everything for sure. I'm a big mashed potatoes guy, so I usually load up a little mashed potato heavy, but I'll get a little bit of everything in there. I'll platoon my dish if I need to. And then, I used to eat quite a bit when I was either, single or just in a relationship. And now that I'm chasing a 3-year-old around, I kind of just scarf down what I can while we're kind of taking turns chasing the little guy around. So actually I had a good size meal, but I wasn't completely stuffed. So I'll take that as a win. How about you?
That's
Did you just go wild on that plate, man?
I went wild on that plate. Went wild on the turkey, and basically it was very dry. But one thing about my household is that I have in my refrigerator, I have all these ranch packets that I've accumulated from like different like fast food restaurants. So I just started dipping in ranch, and that was
Yeah.
how I got by. And everybody at the table looked at me strange. You're the only one with the ranch packets, but we did our thing. And
There was no gravy for the turkey.
no, it was ranch. It was ranch from like Burger King that I mixed in. So I don't
Wow.
have any regrets. I mean, it's once a year. Never, not going to see those people again. No, I'm just kidding. It's literally just my immediate family this year. But yeah, no, it was a good holiday, and I'm thankful for this podcast, Tylor.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we kind of cut off the thankfulness at the end, but I am too, man. Thankful for all the listeners, and we're starting to see some action around Major League Baseball slowly but surely. We're kind of in that lull before the winter meetings, but yeah, we've had a little bit of action to look at. Kind of, I feel like there's been a little more activity before the winter meetings compared to some years past.
Yeah, I think I saw a note the other day where it said like, it was still slow this time last year, but it feels like it should be a little faster. I mean, I think, the week that we're kind of coming up is usually when all the activity begins. And yeah, we did want to recap a few things that went down. Starting with the non-tender stuff. I know that was a little bit ago, but Brandon Woodruff was non-tendered by the Brewers. He's a free agent. There's a few other people that were non-tendered that are interesting. I know the Reds non-tendered Nick Senzel. A few other players got non-tendered, but Brandon Woodruff was kind of the one that I looked at, and I know you looked at too. And it wasn't too long ago he was the top end guy for the Brewers, atop the rotation with Corbin Burnes, and now he's a free agent and he's undergoing surgery and he's likely going to sit out another year. But I mean, I guess it makes sense.
I mean, I was kind of surprised. Usually, in a situation where a guy's entering the last year of his deal and he can be kind of a front end starter or a decent bat in your lineup, teams will kind of look at it the other way and extend him a little bit so that we'll stick with you through this year of inactivity. We already have you under contract, and then we'll have you for a couple years after. I think that's probably what kind of deal. I don't think Brandon Woodruff's going to go unsigned. I think some team's going to give him a 2 or 3 year deal and know that first year is going to be pretty much a sunk cost. But yeah, he's been there for so long, and I guess the Brewers are kind of in a transition period right now. Corbin Burnes will probably be out the door, if not this off season, after this coming season. So I can see why they did it, but still a little surprised that they just kind of cut him loose.
Yeah, it's tough to see like with the injuries and everything, and how that's kind of worked. And um I'd like to see him get back to kind of the ace that he was. I think we all would. So hopefully Brandon Woodruff, quick recovery. I know he'll be back in 2025 strong. Some other news out west. And by the way, there's some breaking news here. Comeback Player of the Year announced. We did not rehearse this, but some breaking news while we're recording. The Comeback Player of the Year. Do you want to guess who they are? I know we have not talked about this at all, so I don't even know the
No,
candidates.
no, I don't know. Hit me with it.
Cody Bellinger in the National League with the Cubs and Liam Hendricks in the American League with the White Sox. So Liam Hendriks, of course, coming off the cancer diagnosis. I think he ended up coming back there for a little bit, and I think he ended up going back on the shelf. And then Cody
Yeah.
Bellinger bounced back year after some unproductive years in LA. So good to see that real quick.
Yeah, I mean, I think Hendricks, yeah, he didn't have a great year. He only pitched in 5 games, but just the battle back from cancer to take the field. I know that was an emotional journey for him and the White Sox and their fans. So definitely behind that pick, even if the stats weren't there. And yeah, Cody Bellinger. I mean, we've talked about him a bit. DFA'd a year ago, and now he's comeback player of the year and looking to turn that into a payday. So kind of the two opposite ends of the spectrum on what makes a comeback player: poor performance or from an injury. And got a little of both there.
Yeah, and Bellinger's going to have a lot of suitors. He's going to have plenty of suitors out there that are going to try to, be in the market for his services. It's going to be really cool to see. Anyways, I was going to say in the southern part of California, the San Diego Padres were the last team to hire their manager. In previous shows, we touched on the managerial position and kind of the carousel around the league. And we had mentioned that San Diego is a pretty interesting landing point. And the Padres end up going in-house. By the way, their owner passed away, Peter Seidler, and it was kind of a tough spot. Like you couldn't really go on with the managerial search, in full throttle. I think the way that they were going to before, but they settle on hiring Mike Schildt to be the 23rd manager in franchise history, 2-year deal. And Schildt was with the Padres the last 2 years as a senior advisor. And he was recently introduced. So thoughts on Mike Schildt getting a job? And I think he should have never been fired from the Cardinals. I think he did a good job with them, but good to see them settle on someone who is pretty familiar with the organization.
Yeah, I think settle's kind of a harsh term because it makes it sound like he's
Yeah.
kind of an unworthy candidate. But like you said, he did a really a strong job with the Cardinals, and now he gets a second chance with the Padres. And out of all the managerial openings, that's probably one of the best ones you could land in with the talent they have on the roster. So he has a chance to turn that around pretty quickly if he can. And 2-year deals kind of a weird length for me for a manager, but like you said, it was kind of an odd search just with everything that was going on in the organization when they needed to find a new skipper. So
Yeah, there's no shame in putting that search on hold for the time that they did. Because losing an owner is a big deal. You got to figure out who's next in line to take over that chairman position. There might be some view changes within the organization. There's the sense of respect. So I think the Padres made the right pick with Mike Schildt.
and you also need to get a manager named before free agency really
Exactly.
gets going because guys need to know who they're playing for. So
Yeah, that's really important. And I wonder how important that is. I think it is very important. And it's one of those things that you can't really put a number or a price tag on, but you could put emphasis on it. No doubt
I
about
mean, if you want to look at it, look at what the Rangers did with Bochy. They got Bochy in the driver's seat and got a few big arms that wanted to play for him, and
Yeah.
now they're having parades and getting jewelry. So
In the middle of the World Series, right? I think they made that hire.
yeah,
So they weren't messing around. And I know MLB hates that when managers are announced in the middle of the postseason. But um anyways, some other news staying in the National League West. The first trade of the offseason has been made. The Arizona Diamondbacks and Seattle Mariners agreed to send third baseman Eugenio Suarez to the Diamondbacks. Arizona's been needing a third baseman. They rolled with Evan Longoria. They had a few other guys play there this postseason, but there was a little bit of a hole there. They get the power hitting Suarez in exchange for relief pitcher Carlos Vargas and a catcher, CB Zavala. So Suarez heading to Arizona, kind of an underrated guy, but he's played every single day. I think he played every day for the Mariners in 2023, if I'm not mistaken, all 162 games. So kind of an interesting trade. Thoughts?
yeah. I mean, yeah, he did play 162 this year. I mean,
Yeah.
he's one of those guys where he strikes out a lot. He also led Major League Baseball in strikeouts this year
Yeah.
from playing every game. He's led the big leagues in Ks 3 times, but he has a 49 home run season. That was in Cincinnati, kind of a hitter's park, but he has the pop. So, he kind of shores up third base for them. And I'm not sure. I don't know a whole lot about the package back. I did hear Vargas is a power arm that the Mariners can probably get excited about, and that the catcher they received is an option to maybe be their backup catcher either next year or the year after. So, and the Mariners are, they're always making deals and they cut some salary there. So, I think it makes sense for both. I think this could be a trade down the line that both teams can consider that they want it potentially.
I agree. And I think the cool thing about this is it adds a variety in the Arizona order. Like we talk so much about them being kind of a speed and defense type team. And now you put kind of a big bopper in there, and not a big bopper in terms of like, you're going to rely on him to carry the offense. He's not that type of guy, but a bopper in terms of someone who could hit the ball out of the ballpark. And the Diamondbacks have guys that could do that, but someone who could solely do that adds some variety to their lineup. So I like the trade. Again, very durable. Anytime you play 162 games, you gain a lot of respect from, I'm sure, you and I both. So good move. The big move, the first big move that kind of caught our attention, and I think we're going to have thoughts about how this is going to change the starting pitching market, is Aaron Nola. Aaron Nola did not want to leave the Phillies, and the Phillies did not want Aaron Nola to leave them. They agree on a contract worth $172 million over 7 years. That's a $24.6 million annual value. So it's Aaron Nola staying in the city of brotherly love. I think that this is a good move. He's not your prototypical ace, which is why the 172 was kind of like, that's a lot for Aaron Nola, but also, he's a durable guy. He's going to be there every fifth day for you. He's going to get strikeouts and he's going to give you some innings.
Yeah, absolutely. He was probably, I mean, if you take out Ohtani and Yamamoto, he's right up there with probably right behind Snell as, the best starter available. And so to see a guy like that just kind of come off the table so early in the off season and set the market is very interesting. It's also, if they were both so in love with each other, why didn't they just extend him earlier, let him hit free agency? But I guess they realized they had a good thing going, and it'll be really interesting to see how this kind of trickles down through the rest of the market, because like you said, he's probably like a 1.5 starter, on a bad team. He could be an ace on a playoff or championship caliber team. He's probably a 2. Mm-hmm. And so to see him get that length and that almost 25 million a year, that's got to make some other starting pitchers ears perk up.
Certainly Snell.
Yeah.
I think Snell is going to get paid before, and Yamamoto too. Like and honestly, it makes the Kevin Gausman deal for Toronto look that much better.
Yeah.
Like, he was a Cy Young finalist this year, and he got what, 5 years over 110, 6 years over 110.
Yeah.
So that's looking like a steal. And I know I don't know if we want to hop right to Sonny Gray, who signed a little later. Sonny Gray got 3 years, 75 million. So I mean, and he's again a little older than Aaron Nola, but still kind of interesting how the free agent market for starting pitchers is kind of a little bit all over the place, and it's going to be skewed because there's not a lot of big time arms on the market.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's why we're seeing some of these high AAVs. But yeah, Sonny Gray, 3 years, 75 mil. I think there's a club option on there, so it could turn into a 4-year, probably a little over 100 million. Mm-hmm. And like you said, he's a little bit older, but it looks like kind of the base for starting pitching is 25 million for a top of the line starter. And the Cardinals also did some other work to shore up their rotation, which is one of their bigger needs. They just to lump these guys kind of in with it, they signed Lance Lynn to a 1-year, $10 million deal with a club option for 25, and Kyle Gibson comes aboard as well for a 1-year, $12 million with a club option. So a little Farhan special going on over in St. Louis, but they had a need. I guess they didn't want to wait and kind of have some of these arms fall off and have to dig the bottom of the barrel. But Gray will be near the top of their rotation. Gibson and Lynn probably they're 4 and 5, maybe they're 3 and 4, and they shored up their rotation. Maybe not with studs aside from Gray, but those are notable big league arms.
It's an old group now. That is an old group now. Maybe if they get something figured out with Lynn, like he gave up so many home runs last year, I think over 40. I don't expect that to happen again, but
Yeah, I
you
mean,
might
just
have something.
a year or two ago, Lynn was a stud. He was
Yeah,
pitching pretty well. So if they can find it, I think I saw or heard somewhere their average age in the rotation is like 35 right now. And it's funny that they like lose Wainwright and they're still at a
they're still
35
old.
average age. But just to kind of tie it into some of I was a little surprised, well, not necessarily surprised, but I think that 3 year 75 million would have fit pretty well with the Giants because they seem so kind of hesitant to give out those long deals, especially for starting pitchers, that getting a guy like Sonny Gray on a 3 year deal would have seemed pretty nice. But obviously he's happy to be heading to St. Louis.
Yeah, and Sonny Gray, who finished second in the American League Cy Young voting, that would have been a deal that I could have seen the Giants go after. Just because the point you just mentioned, he is on the older side, and it is a shorter term deal. Like,
Yeah.
the Giants love the shorter term deals, and there's been so many starting pitching deals, that we can think of that have not worked out. Most of them, and most of them that are in progress probably won't work out. But there's been a handful that have, and a
Yeah.
lot of them have been, Greinke, I think to an extent worked out. Lester worked out, I think. Scherzer's worked out great. There's been a bunch that have worked out pretty well, and this is not one of those like 8 year deals. Cole's another one that I think is going to work out. It probably has worked out already with the Yankees. And if you avoid those deals and go with, the Sonny Grays of the world, it might be a better bet. I think Farhan's like that bet a little bit more. And it's interesting to see them not pursue that more with the Bob Melvin connection. But I think they have their sights set on some bigger fish in the pond. But
Yeah.
yeah, interesting to see though what the Cardinals are doing with that old rotation.
Yeah.
But like even like Snell's probably the top pitcher out there, right? Who's not named Otani because the surgery and just
Or Yamamoto.
or Yamamoto, excluding them. Um, Snell is the best arm out there, excluding Yamamoto and Otani. And even he's got like his fair share of question marks. Like he throws too many pitches. He led the league in walks. He's going to give you only 5-6 innings. So even the best pitcher on this market has questions. So I
Yeah.
mean the pitching market's just so skewed right now. The position player market, I mean, I think that one might even be more skewed. Um, but I think we'll definitely have to see. And then on a lesser extent, the Twins did have Kenta Maeda as well, I think, right? And he's
Yep.
going to Detroit, 2 years, 24 million. You mentioned the Farhan special. This is literally the deal that Shamanaya and Ross Stripling got. So 2 years, 24 million, 12 million AAV for Kenta Maeda with the Tigers. They're kind of in a rebuilding mode, hoping to get back on and take advantage of a really weak American League Central that, God, it's been weak for some time. So,
Yeah.
and a versatile arm, probably could pitch out of the bullpen, could start, could do some different things.
Yeah. I mean, he was one of the first names to sign. It wasn't like a massive deal, but it was kind of interesting that it was the Tigers of all teams. But I guess, they're just trying to get some depth to support some of they do have some nice young talent that hopefully they can develop. And, there's definitely worse arms you can throw out there than Kenta Maeda if he can stay healthy, because he's got a pretty wide arsenal of pitches as well. So, I don't think he probably wasn't going to get a lot of attention from perennial playoff contenders, and so he stays in that central, just moves a little bit. I guess it would be a little east to Detroit.
Yeah, east of Detroit. And another move that was made, the Dodgers are re-signing Jason Heyward to a 1 year, $9 million deal. And Jason Heyward looked like he could have been somebody coming up, through the Brave system, could have been like a future Hall of Famer. I think everybody kind of had that set in stone for Jason Heyward. He hasn't been that. He's kind of underachieved throughout his career, but he's getting a nice deal here. He had a good year with the Dodgers last year in kind of a part-time role, had just over 300 plate appearances, 350 plate appearances, and had a nice year kind of as a platoon bat. And I think he's going to have a few good years where he could hit right-handed pitching and fit well in an outfield somewhere. But $9 million still, I mean, you got to question the position player market, and the Dodgers are continuing on with Jason Heyward. So he was a project with them last year. I think he was a minor league signing, right? But
Yeah, I
interesting
think
that they
so.
re-sign him.
But yeah, I mean, he's finally out of that big contract. I think that he signed with the Cubs. I was just pulled him up on a good old baseball reference. He's made over $200 million in his
Wow.
career. Like he said, he hasn't lived up to his expectations, but he's had a solid career, and now he's just kind of keeping it going. He gets a chance to, have kind of a platoon role with a playoff contender. So I think that could be a win-win for both sides as well. So I think it makes sense for both teams.
Yeah, the Dodgers did not let him face left-handed pitching last year. He had 28 plate appearances against lefties and 26 at bats and went 5 for 26. And against righties, that was where he played the majority of the time and had an 818 OPS. So he'll be in a platoon role again. There's no reason for them to play him at all against left-handed pitching. So Jason Heyward, good to still see him in the league. One of the guys in baseball who reminds me of like my first, few years watching baseball. He's still involved. Um, there's some stuff going on in the trade market. And again, this has been buzzing a little bit too. We have not seen any major trades aside from the Suarez one. But there's been some rumors, as there are this time of year. And one of the ones that we see is on the pitching side, Dylan Cease, Tyler Glasnow, Shane Bieber, Logan Gilbert. Those are a few names available. And Cease has actually been getting some interest by the Braves, who are also in on Sonny Gray, from what I'm and Aaron Nola too. The Braves are trying to steal Nola from the Phillies and the White Sox. So Dylan Cease, Dylan Cease is with the White Sox, but he's linked to Atlanta. But I think he climbs to the top of the list in terms of pitchers I want that might be available.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sorry I put White Sox on the agenda. I forget who the second team was now, but yeah,
Red
he's been linked
Sox.
to maybe it was the Red Sox, but yeah, he's been linked to a few teams. He's obviously, I think, the biggest name available, but you also mentioned a few other big arms and Glasnow, Bieber, and I'm kind of surprised to see Logan Gilbert's name flying around a bit. I guess maybe the
Yeah.
Mariners are trying to sell high while he's young and affordable, and maybe stock up a little bit on the farm. But yeah, I mean, Cease is going to be a game changer if he gets moved. I think it seems pretty likely that he will get moved. And I mean, if you're the Braves and you land him and you put him next to Spencer Strider and some of their other big arms, you have a rotation to go with that murderer's row offense that we've talked plenty about on the pod. So, I feel like there's always a few names, but I feel like there's a lot of names on the trade market rumors right now compared to previous years. So they won't all necessarily move because everyone's just putting out reports and what they're hearing. So obviously not all these guys are going to be dealt most likely, but I think Cease on the pitching end is the cream of the crop of arms that are being discussed.
Yeah, and players on good teams too. Like Tyler Glasnow's on the Rays, and Shane Bieber's on a Guardians team that could easily compete, and Logan Gilbert's on the Mariners. Like these are good teams that these pitchers are a part of, and like they're willing to part ways with them. That's intriguing to me. But back to Cease just for 1 second. What is the reason why Chicago would even think about holding on to him? Like he's going to be going into his age 28 season. The White Sox have not been good. Why hold on to him? Like I don't understand. I mean, I
I
know he
mean, he's
4 point.
controllable for a long time. He's controllable.
Exactly. You would
Yeah.
get a nice haul back for him. You're not going to compete. You struggle to put together a team. You struggle to create a culture in the clubhouse that is respectable of any kind. Trade him, tear it down. Like Chris Getz, the new general manager who was a former speed second baseman and everything. Um, gotta go. Like for me, gotta go. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and if you're a team looking to trade for an arm, he's made 32, 33 starts the last 3 years. I believe he was second in Cy Young voting last year. Had a little bit of an off year this year. He's kind of in that Blake Snell boat of he kind of walks a lot of guys, but he's also a power arm who strikes out a ton of guys. So, I think if you're a contender and you can part with a little bit of your farm, who wouldn't want a Dylan Cease in their rotation, right?
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. Who wouldn't want a Dylan Cease? There's plenty of upside, even though he had close to a 4.6 ERA. There's still plenty of upside. He's still got great stuff. Um, you know, he I would want him in there. He's still got 10.9 strikeouts per inning. I'm looking at it now. 10.9 strikeouts per inning. The walks have gone a little bit up each year, but I don't think that's an issue. The home runs went up last year, but he's still someone who could be a perennial Cy Young candidate if given the chance in a good ballpark. Yeah, again, White Sox should make that move. Tyler Glasnow, I want him in San Francisco for personal reasons. Hopefully that comes to fruition. Friend of the show, of course. We got to get him on here. That'd be cool. Yeah, a shutdown inning.
Shout out to Doug, and was it Doug or Brooks who baited you the other night and said, "Oh, we need Steven to report the Glasnow trade."
That was Chris.
Oh, it's Chris
Corbett, who's a loyal listener of the Shutdown inning. Chris got me with that one. That was a good one. I don't get got by the Twitter account. We'll get to the Twitter accounts in a little bit, but when that one got me because Chris is usually like very, very quick with that stuff. Yeah, that one scared me a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, him and Bieber are probably, they're quality arms, but they do have some health concerns. Yeah. So it'll be interesting if they do get moved, what kind of package it takes to get them.
Yeah, I'll pay for the medical bills for Tyler Glasnow.
Oh, don't say that, man. And Steven never made money again. But like you said, the Rays are a good team, but I think this is Glasnow's last year before free agency, and they're kind of a churn and burn, franchise where they need to get something for guys when they can. So that makes sense for them. And Beaver's kind of in the Cease boat, the Guardians, they can compete and maybe go after that Central, but it's always kind of a crapshoot and a battle of mid, if you will.
Yeah.
So, they could probably get something for him. So it'll be interesting to see how some of these trades shake out. We haven't even gotten to Juan Soto yet, Steven.
Oh my God. Yeah.
I mean, this is an interesting one because everyone, Juan Soto, I mean, how old is this guy? Like, he's only like 25, 26.
He never ages.
Yeah.
Every year we're asking
every year he's only like in his low 20s.
He's 25.
He's 25. Yeah. And he's a free agent after this year. So that's one wrinkle into it. You got to look at, the Padres, if they do decide to move him, are probably trying to recoup at least close to what they gave up for him to get him from the Nationals. Even though, the team getting him is only getting 1 year of Soto instead of 2.5, like the Padres did. A lot of people seem to think he's if he does get moved, it's to the Yankees. I've seen the Giants mentioned a lot too. I just don't know if moving, usually you don't see major trades within a division. It's not unheard of, but it's pretty rare. So I mean, unless they're totally out of it or they're in the hunt, if he's not traded in the offseason, he'll be moved in July for sure. Because a lot of the thinking with a guy going into his last year is, we'll trade for him and extend him. But Juan Soto is a Scott Boras client, unless that has changed. And there's one thing I know about Scott Boras clients is they typically do not sign extensions. They want to hit that market, use all the leverage they can to get as big a deal as possible. So you're not guaranteed a Juan Soto for more than a year if you unload the farm for him.
Yeah, it's funny because I just don't see the Padres trading anybody. Like I know that they have to cut payroll, and that's part of the reason why they're probably not going to extend him. But like I don't know. I still feel like they have a window. You know what I'm saying? Like I still feel like there's a window there to win. They have good players. It's just I don't know what the issue is. I think I've always viewed them as like a starting pitcher or a bullpen piece away. But
yeah, I mean, there are some analytics I saw. I didn't get into the whole like acronyms and what they were and stuff, but they basically played as like a 90-92 win team. The results just didn't always go their way. So, they have a quality ball club. But you mentioned they have a window, but if they're not going to extend him, their window with Soto is only a year. So
that's true. Then maybe it's a deadline move,
Yeah.
I feel like the Yankees are involved in every rumor because they're the Yankees. And then we really dig deep into it and realize that they just weren't a good team last year, and the Padres need him more than the Yankees need him. So it's like, that's part of it. But like, if I wouldn't put anything past AJ Preller. I'll say that. I do think the Yankees are going to get one of Yamamoto, Bellinger, Soto. I'll leave it at that because I think they're going to get one of them. Because they're look at the guys that they ran out in their outfield last year. Their outfield in August and September, some of the guys they had run out there, it was horrible. It was bad. Their outfield, I think they had I don't even know the names out there that they ran out, but it was bad. But
Yeah.
Soto would definitely help. But he wouldn't solve. I think John Heyman said this, and I agree with Heyman. He wouldn't solve all the Yankees' problems. He wouldn't.
Yeah. I mean, personally, if I'm the Padres, I sit on him this offseason because, like you said, they can be a competitive team. They aren't, they could go deep in the playoffs next year, and I wouldn't be surprised. So, what's going to make that this year more successful for them? Having Soto or a truckload of minor leaguers. So play the first few months with Soto, see where you're sitting come July, and then make a move if it seems like you're out of the race.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. Going to be interesting to see. I think this won't be the last time we talk about Juan Soto for sure.
No.
And then moving on, this is personally you and I's favorite topic of the winter. One of them, the Hall of Fame ballot is released, and we're going to have much more on the Hall of Fame as we kind of go quicker to the announcement and sometime in January. But some of the new names, I think Gary Sheffield's on his last year. He's not a new name, but some of the returners. Helton was a few votes shy. Wagner was like 20 votes shy. Those guys probably look to be very favorable this year. But some of the new names that are going to be debuting on this year's ballot: Adrian Beltre, Joe Mauer, Chase Utley, David Wright, Jose Bautista, Matt Holliday. Those are some of the top newcomers. Out of those guys, like, is there anybody that stands out?
I mean, I think Beltre is going to be enshrined next year. I think he's a first ballot guy. He had the longevity. He was productive basically his whole career. Played third base at a very high level. I think there's two that are interesting for me, and they're Joe Mauer and Chase Utley, mostly because of the position they play. Mauer didn't have a lot of the counting stats, but he had an MVP, had at least one batting title, I believe. And then you have Chase Utley at second base, which is a pretty meek position in Cooperstown. But we just had Jeff Kent, who dwarfs Utley's numbers offensively, fall off of the ballot with very little support. But I've seen a lot of experts say that Utley's a Hall of Famer, so it's kind of interesting to see how it goes. And kind of as a Giants fan, I'm interested in how Mauer's numbers look, because I think Buster Posey's they're going to path to Cooperstown will be very similar to Joe Mauer's. The only thing he really did that Mauer didn't was win a few rings, which is obviously very important, but that's a team accomplishment. So very similar production throughout their career too. So those are the ones that kind of jump off at me. How about you?
Beltre for sure is going to be in first ballot Hall of Fame. One of the best third basemen I ever put on a uniform. He's definitely going to be in. I'm interested to know about Mauer. I would say yes. Only because I think he, Posey, and Molina deserve to go in. They're all three of them in my mind are Hall of Famers. You mentioned first base, the move there, the move off catching position. Statistically, for the guys that played the majority of baseball outside of, are as a catcher, majority of their games as a catcher, Mauer ranks very favorably. And all three of those guys could be on the ballot at the same time. If Mauer doesn't get in, and then a few years Posey comes on, and then the year after Posey, Molina comes on, and if Posey's on the ballot when Molina gets in, that's not going to be a good look. And Mauer is going to kind of be in that same path. I think all three of them should get in, and I know the counting numbers aren't there. I understand that, but at the same time, we have to understand the peak. Mauer, I think, was a very good hitter, Hall of Fame hitter in his peak. He deserves to be in, and I think something needs to be said about him playing in one uniform. There's like a legend or an icon type of mold for guys that play in one uniform. And real quick on Chase Utley, did you want to add one thing on Mauer before I get?
I was gonna say, one team. I mean, it's so crazy how similar they are, because him, Posey, and Molina,
good point.
All one team.
That's right. Yeah, all one team. And real quick on Utley, on the surface, it doesn't seem like Utley's a Hall of Famer. But if you look into it, he is one of the best players in his era. And it's weird to say that. From the time when Chase Utley, from 2003 to 2018, Chase Utley had the 5th best Fangraphs WAR behind Pujols, Beltre, Cabrera, Trout, Chase Utley. So I know WAR's not everything, but second base is a spot where, usually don't put up numbers like Chase Utley did. And him and Robinson Cano are the best of his era at that position. So I would say he's in.
Well, Jeff Kent was the best offensive second baseman of all time.
Jeff Kent's a Hall of Famer. The writers got it wrong.
Yeah. The thing with I know we talked about this a little bit a few days ago, but that period of time where he was 5th in WAR is impressive for sure. But I don't really I always take it with a grain of salt when you say, well, during his career, point A to point B, because everyone else's careers don't overlap quite the same.
That's true.
So, if you played, if 100 guys all played that same span, started the same year and the same year, then it might be a little different. But either way, you get mentioned in the name with Cabrera and Trout and Pujols, you're doing something right. So to be honest, part of my thing with Utley is probably, well, if Jeff Kent didn't get in, and I'm not a big Jeff Kent guy, he was a Giant. He was really good with the Giants, but, I was never like I love Jeff Kent. But if he doesn't get in, and like you said, the writers did get it wrong, but he had so little support. So it's going to be really weird to see Utley maybe not get in this year, but probably I wouldn't be surprised if he breaks 50% on the first year for sure.
Yeah, no doubt. I think he's going to be a guy that we're going to be talking about on the ballot for a long time. He's going to be one of those guys that just is there for a while, like the Larry Walker.
Right.
Just
like climbs like 2 or 3% every year, like start around 50 and then slowly climb and maybe get in like his 6th or 7th year.
Yeah, that's going to be Chase Utley for sure. The other ones I'm not too sure about. David Wright. I know, again, another one-team guy. I don't think he's got the numbers. Unfortunately, injury cut him short. Bautista and Holiday, probably not. But more discussion. We're going to try and get in contact with the voter. Hopefully have them on the show. That should be a lot of fun. Yeah, but I'm looking forward to this Hall of Fame topic. It's a very fun conversation. I like it.
Yeah, it was kind of back to the roots of the shutdown inning since we started in the off season last year. So one of the first things we got to talk about, and I know you and I both love talking Hall of Fame and kind of how it's evolved and how the kind of means different things to different people now. So we'll have plenty of Hall of Fame discussions in future episodes for sure. We can promise you that.
No doubt about it. Let's move into the final part, is everybody's favorite closing segment, not the speedy shutdown, the 3 up, 3 down. We haven't done the speedy shutdown in a while. We should when we have a guest, but 3 up, 3 down. Since usually we save the best for last, I'll go first with the downs, right? First down, Sports Illustrated. What are we doing? Sports Illustrated.
Really quick, everybody. Steven's a journalist, so get ready for some angry Steven journalism ranting. Go.
Sports Illustrated. What are we doing? I want to first preface it by saying AI is going to change the world. Like, that's not an exaggeration. It already is it's going to change the digital world as we know it. It's been around for a little bit. It's been able to do things for years, but we are digging into the really deep and detailed capacity of what AI is going to be able to do. And one of the areas it's going to affect is how we consume media and how media is produced, especially journalism. And SI, and granted, there's stories that are written now in local publications where a high school, football game is going to be written, it's going to be AI generated. But this is where I draw the line. Okay. AI could be helpful for a lot of journalism use. In our newsroom here at San Francisco State University, we use it for transcribing. We use it sometimes for organization. Usually it's from an individual basis, right? So it's never, ever used for writing stories. And it should never, ever, ever be used for writing stories and doing reporting. So what Sports Illustrated did is basically they came up with fake people, AI-generated people with a staff bio of their interests, and it made up an entire article. And it's so disappointing. It's such first of all, it's not even a good article. Anything AI generated, you could tell automatically because it's just not good. It's full of not good reporting. It's bad. I'm disappointed with the people that run SI, the corporation behind it. that want to not give these assignments to and not want to pay real journalists to write these stories. It's a shame. It's a shame for Sports Illustrated. That used to be the mecca of sports journalism. Nobody was better than Sports Illustrated for 50 years. And then digital media caught up and The Athletic happened, and people stopped buying the print magazine, and eventually people stopped going on the website. But for there to be this much of a drop off for Sports Illustrated, it's very sad to see. So I'm disappointed by that. AI should never be used in that way. It should be used to assist, but it should not be used to conquer any finished articles. So I'm disturbed by that. I am.
Yeah, I mean, and with your kind of your passions and your career path that you want to take, I definitely understand why you're upset. I'm not a fan of it either. I think it's definitely a slippery slope of where this can go, and the human jobs it can take, and the quality of reporting and stories that non-journalists, the end reader will be able to enjoy. So yeah, it was definitely interesting to see that report come out. And yeah, hopefully, it is kind of shocking that it is Sports Illustrated. It was a major thing when I was a kid. I remember trying to get a Sports Illustrated, get my parents to buy one off the rack for me when we were at the grocery store. And so hopefully just kind of the backlash from this and will keep other publications from considering doing the same thing.
Yep. I have a subscription, comes to my house 24 times a year. So it's still good journalism, but
Cancel it, Steven. Take a stand.
This is a flaw. Technically, well, I'm not an employee of Sports Illustrated, but I have
You're a contributor.
Contributor. So hopefully they don't hear this, but that's disturbing. And any journalist that goes through journalism school that comes out of school with a journalism major, they have to take a journalism ethics class. And this needs to be updated in the curriculum. 100% AI needs to be updated in the curriculum. We need to teach the next crop of journalists, myself included, of what this is going to look like in the future, because this is going to keep happening. It's happening already. Sports Illustrated just got caught. That's how it works. All right, second down for me. And I mentioned fake reporters. Fake reporters in a different way. Beware this time of year of the fake Ken Rosenthal accounts, of the fake Bob Nightingale accounts, of the fake John Heyman accounts, because
even the real ones give you a lot of fake news.
Yeah, well, Bob Nightingale, I'm not even convinced he's a real person, so that might have not been a great example. But the fake Joel Shermans and the fake Morosi's, beware. Okay, use kind of your literacy skills to see through that, your media literacy skills. I'm sure that you have them. I hope you have them. If not, take this time to develop them, please, because we can't have any retweets on the timeline. And I know people do them as jokes. It's funny from time to time, but please don't get surprised by Joseph Kim or anybody who you've really never heard of breaking news. You always got to be wary. Sometimes, every now and then, somebody does break an actual news story and it's legit, and you'll see a few days later that it was legit. But, the rumors are going to come from the top people. And a lot of teams, by the way, are getting better at not leaking that stuff. So,
yeah, there's a lot of teams that are keeping things buttoned up now for a number of reasons, but
Giants included.
Yeah. And it's really tough, even tougher now, thanks to our boy Elon with the whole check mark fiasco. So yep. I don't even know if like the real Jeff Passan or the real Ken Rosenthal, I don't even know if they're have the verified check mark anymore, but now anyone can have one. So you can, I could create an account and pay $8 a month and say that I'm Ken Rosenthal without an A in my last name. So just before you get too excited or too down on news, click on that profile, take a look. Is it legit? Does Ken Rosenthal have, 3.5 million followers or 112?
Yeah, absolutely. Third down. And this is an interesting one, a very interesting one. So I'm going to give a down to the Oakland A's. We've given the Oakland, I feel like they lead the league in downs. I feel if we listen back, they've been down, on the down list, like probably about 3 or 4 times at this point. They're going to be on the down list again because they are essentially getting replaced in Oakland by a minor league team in the Frontier League called the Bees, the Oakland Bees, short for Ballers. It's going to be a Frontier League team They're going to rock the green and gold. And they're going to play at Laney College in Oakland. And they promise to never leave town. So it's not a major league team, but it is a professional baseball team coming to Oakland. And the reason I'm putting them on, I'm putting this in the down category, is because the city, the Oakland Athletics as a franchise need to be embarrassed that a minor league team, a startup minor league team, is more willing to have Oakland roots than the Oakland A's. So rooted in Oakland, not the A's, but the Ballers. So I'm happy for them.
Yeah, I mean, obviously a little bit easier to home a minor league or like an independent league team for the stadiums and the capacities they need. But, you know, having another team come in and say, hey, we want to play here. We know that there's a lot of great baseball fans in this town. And then to do it at a site that the A's rejected to build a potentially new stadium is another little wrinkle in it towards the A's. Is like, come on, you guys could have done this.
Yeah.
So, you know, like you said, they're kind of perennial downs right now. And they probably will be for a while to a lot of fans in the Bay Area, A's fans or otherwise. So,
no doubt, no doubt. Let's hear some ups. Let's end on a good note.
Yeah, let's hit the 3 ups. I'm on the ups this week, so I'm going to start out with, and I just learned this right before we recorded, so I don't have a bunch of details. You might have a little bit more on it, Steven, but the Arizona Diamondbacks, a team that was just in the Fall Classic, is offering season tickets for under $300. $299, 81 home games. You're there for all of them if you choose to. I'm assuming it means you get like a upper deck seat down the corners somewhere. But hey, if you're a D-backs fan and you just want to get in the ballpark, you can go to any game you want for under $300, and that's pretty solid.
That's amazing. That's a team that was just in the World Series. I mean, I'm looking at it now. They're including 83 home games for $299. That includes exhibition games, big matchups with the Yankees, Cubs, Dodger, Phillies, and more. This offer is only available for a limited time. Buy directly through the MLB Ballpark app or online. But I mean, that's like 5 games for like Oracle Park. 5 games.
Yeah, I mean, the Giants did something similar a few years ago. They called it the season pass, and you could basically, the day of a game, if you paid for it, you could click in and say, I want to go tonight, and they would just figure out which upper deck seat to put you in. So I don't know if you'll have like the same seat in Arizona. But yeah, I mean, obviously you're going to be watching a good product. It's not like they're, you know, the Tigers trying to just get someone to come to their game. I know attendance hasn't always been great for the Diamondbacks, partially because, you know, in the middle of summer, it's 185 degrees in Phoenix.
Yep.
But, you know, I think this is a good way to get more fans in the ballpark. We saw what a loud, full Chase Field is like in the postseason. And, you know, the Diamondbacks will get some fans in the seats, spending on some concessions as well. So I think it's, you know, one of those win-wins for everybody. And if you're a baseball fan down in Arizona, 83 ball games for $299. I mean, that's $3 and change for each game. That's sign me up if I'm living in Phoenix.
Yeah, no doubt of it. That's almost as much as the Harlem Globetrotter. Like 3 tickets to the Harlem Globetrotters at Chase Center on January 13th. So
very weird reference, but thank you very much for that.
You're welcome.
Have you been looking for 3 tickets to the Harlem Globetrotters?
My parents 100% aren't listening to this. Sometimes they'll listen to RizzoCast, sometimes they'll listen to this, but they're not listening here. But that's their Christmas present from me.
Okay.
And I'm going to, so I'm including myself.
Nice. Well, okay, then the reference makes a little more sense now.
Yeah, it's recency bias. I just got him the other day, so
hey, nice.
Yeah,
well, that'll be fun. Yeah, and then so going to up number 2, I'm going with international free agents. They're about to kind of take over this off season. I think they're all posted now. Maybe Imanaga isn't yet, or is it Lee that's maybe not posted? But we got Yoshinobu Yamamoto, who we've all talked. I think today he won his 3rd Japanese League MVP. Shoto Imanaga, which I believe is a lefty coming out of Japan, who was kind of the 3 starter behind Ohtani and Yamamoto in the WBC, and Jung-Hoo Lee, who's an outfielder who can kind of do it all. And then, so those are the guys that are just posting this year, and then you just throw Ohtani on top of it. And so usually, you know, you get 1 or 2 of these guys every couple of years that, you know, everyone's kind of anticipating where they're going to go. And we've got a really solid crop of them this year.
Yeah, and I think if anything, what we've seen Senga have a really good year with the Mets. He's getting some Cy Young consideration, and the pitchers are going to adjust well. Like the pitchers are going to come in here and not have a tough adjustment in the big leagues. Maybe initially, but they usually have pretty successful careers. So I think nobody should be worried about Yamamoto or any other Japanese pitcher that comes over. Um, and Lee's an interesting one because Lee is Japanese, but he's coming from the KBO. So something we don't normally see. So he's getting posted, I believe, by the team name is the Heroes. So they're posting him, and he's an outfielder, one of the best outfielders out there. But yeah, the international talent's great. Those a lot of the countries down there in Asia, like they live, breathe baseball, similar to how we do it in the United States, similar to how we do it in the Dominican Republic. I mean, it's just a hot spot for baseball talent, and in a lot of ways, we could learn the game from them. And I don't see any adjustment really for a lot of the players posted based on what I've heard. They're pretty incredible talents.
Yeah. And I don't know all the intricacies, but for those listeners, we mentioned posting and windows. So usually it's either a 30 or 45-day window when these guys get posted by their Japanese or KBO teams. And they have that window to negotiate with major league teams, and they have to sign by the close of the window. Otherwise, they go back to their teams in Asia. So it's kind of nice to have a deadline for some of these guys. They can't drag it on forever like some previous free agents. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see where some of these guys land, because they're going to be impact players,
without a doubt, no doubt.
And last but not least, I'm going literally up is the anticipation of the winter meetings. They start December 3rd, which is this coming Sunday. So 5 days from now. We're recording on Tuesday. And, that's where the wheels really start to turn. We start to see some signings. There's been a lot of reports that Ohtani might be making his decision during the winter meetings. And once those big dominoes start to fall, it kind of can be an avalanche of activity. So, yeah, so the anticipation's up. I mean, if you're a baseball fan tracking free agency, this weekend is where it starts to get really interesting.
No doubt. And the first thing I thought was, I hope nobody gets sick this time. The GM meetings got canceled, and I hope nobody gets sick, and we could have a very normal freaking winter meetings with no general managers getting sick. There's some activity, there's flurry. Because is there any other teams that have winter meetings like baseball where like everybody's just crammed in a hotel and there's a ton of business chatter? That's fun.
Yeah, I don't really think so, because usually when free agency opens in the other sports, like everyone signs like it's Black Friday. So
yeah.
So yeah, it's definitely a one of a kind. And I think even if there is something going around, unless it's something major after the meetings got cut short a few weeks ago, they'll see these winter meetings through. So it's a fun time of year to be kind of seeing what these ball clubs are going to look like in 2024.
No doubt about it. I'm looking forward to the winter meetings. I think that this one's going to be very, very much filled with activity for sure. So yeah. Well, I think we shut it down again. This is a good episode. We kind of recapped everything that's happened a little bit. We touched on the Hall of Fame. We're going to hopefully have a guest on the Talk Free Agency, a guest on the Talk Hall of Fame. We're going to do the whole bit. And we're looking forward to this offseason. I don't know how many times we could say it, but definitely excited.
And really quick, I forgot to shout it out last episode. I'm going to do a little plug for you, Steven. I know you've done a few really great episodes recently, but if you're a Giants fan listening, go back and listen to the RizzoCast episode with John Shea. Must listen for a Giants fan. It was really interesting. And if you've grown up a Giants fan, you've definitely grown up reading John Shea. Steven did a good job talking a number of topics that I'm not going to get into because you have to listen to hear them. But yeah, great episode, man. You're doing awesome work over at RizzoCast too.
Thank you, sir. And I want to write a book now. We talked a little bit about the Maze book. I want to write a book now. Shit. But it was a lot of fun. John Shea's great with the young writers. Anybody that wants to be a journalist or again is a Giants fan should go check it out. So I appreciate that plug. And a lot going on there, a lot going on here, and a lot going on all winter and spring eventually as well. So thank you everybody for listening. Go follow us on Twitter at shutdown_inning. Check us out on Spotify. Go check out all of our episodes coming up soon. And see you next time.
That's what's up.
Bye.